told you that all adventure begins with peanuts. Well, here we are. We're in Peanut, and we're on an adventure. Sunshine! And I got online it's probably been a couple years now, about another motorcycle that needed rescuing. And a very loved motorcycle that the owner just doesn't want to ride anymore, and his kids want nothing to do with it, It's tale as old as time. So we are going to go rescue that motorcycle. I'll give you a hint, it's in Arizona. So maybe you know someone in Arizona. Maybe you don't, I don't know. But, so we're going to Arizona, and we're going to pick up this bad boy and see if we can breathe some new life into it. And yeah. Not too far. We're leaving on a Friday night. On a holiday weekend, no less. And I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support with losing our dog Alice. She was the last of our kids. We had when we first moved out, we had Whitney's cat named Abby, and we thought Abby needed a friend. Turns out she didn't, but we got Abby a cat named Coleman. And then around that same time, we bought our first house, 2007-ish, in Laramie, Wyoming. And it was a 1931 Depression era house, 700 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, needed a lot of help. But the payments, it was livable and the bones were good, but the payments were cheaper than rent. And so we were like, screw it, let's just buy this and then, do some sweat equity while we're going to school. And, Whitney was going to school anyway. She's the smart one with her degrees and stuff. So since she's the smart one, I've got to do all the sweat equity, you know what I'm saying? And so after we bought the house, we thought, hey, let's get a dog. And so we rescued a pit bull border collie mix named Ulysses, which ended up being one of the smartest dogs I've ever met, and very emotional. He was always like an Eeyore, And he, the family, he was 5 years old, and the family that had him just kind of put him into a room and just kind of fed him, So he was just kind of fat and didn't know how to be with other animals, and so we wanted to get him a friend. And but he really wasn't vibing with, very many other animals out there until one day the neighbors down the street from us had they had a pug, and their neighbor had a pug, and one got through the fence and did the do, and they ended up with pug puppies. And they were out letting the pug puppies run around the yard, and we went over there, and Ulysses just immediately for this one pug. And there's like 4 or 5 of them, and one was like asleep in the food dish. The other ones were just kind of like walking around a little slow. And then there's this little one running around, and she'd run and jump on this other one, knock him over, and then running over and tackle the one in the food, and then run over to my shoelace and grab it like, and then run over to Ulysses and grab him by the lips and go, and then keep going. And of course, loved that one. And I was like, what about the one sleeping in the dish? That dog seems awesome, but whatever. It was his dog. So we picked up Alice. And that was 16 years ago. And almost 16. I think 15.6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. And so Abby was the first to go. She had bladder cancer. Ulysses made it all the way to 15. He when we moved out here to California, we thought of it as kind of his retirement, nice warm place to retire. When we moved out here for work, and and then Coleman went, and Coleman, he was a diabetic for a couple of years actually, and the meanest cat, oh man, just the meanest cat in the world to everyone but me, and I didn't even want him, you know how it goes. And so I always felt bad for him because I was the only one he could love, but he didn't care. I could stick him with needles, check his blood sugar, everything was fine with me, 16 pounds or 14. He was a big cat. And but yeah, Alice was the last. She was the one that hung on the longest, and everybody made it to 15. Coleman died at 15. Abby died at like 9 or 10 years old, I think. But so kind of an end of an era. So this year's been kind of a wild ride for me. We had Jamie dying. We had all of this other stuff I won't get into. Pets dying. We had Christopher die. Christopher, our other dog, we only had him for a few years. He was an old guy, and we brought him on just to, have someone for Alice and have, get an old dog out of a shelter. He was a pit bull mastiff mix, and he was a good dog. He was the laziest dog in the world. Like we'd take him to the vet and they wouldn't even like x-ray him, or when they'd x-ray him they wouldn't even like put him, have to knock him out or anything, because he'd just lay there. He'd get a wild hair up his ass and he'd run around, but nothing crazy. And he died 4 or 5 months ago, so it's been kind of a crazy ride. And one thing I like to do when life's been crazy is to keep that going. For some reason, my life is just always 3 or 4 catastrophes at a time, and I'm gonna say 50% of them are self-induced. They're unforced errors. I didn't have to do any of this, but it keeps me busy. So, but Alice, when she got older, she needed a lot of work, and that kept me from doing a lot of adventuring that I usually do. But so I was like, screw it, let's just buy another motorcycle, because I haven't even fixed the other one yet. Let's get another one. So yeah, adventure, and let's go learn about this new bike. It's gonna be a lot of fun, I think. I hope you guys enjoy it too. I'll catch up with you here in a bit. made it to Prescott. Prescott? Prescott? Last night. And stayed in this, little motel situation. And we're on our way out to a new friend of mine last couple of years named Ed Tabalik. And I met him through the group, through Joe, mainly. And, he's just getting to the point where he can't ride it much anymore, and he wanted to kind of part ways, and I promised him I'd ride the crap out of it, so, because he just didn't want sitting around. And he's got a bunch of fun stories about it, how it got its name, and all that kind of stuff that we'll go over later. But so we're gonna go pick this bike up and hang out with Ed for a little bit. I met Ed about, I guess it was, 2022, 2021, something like that. And texted him a lot, but I haven't only got to hang out with him about one time. But he was there kind of in the beginning, and he really wanted, like a lot of people, really wanted the Excelsior. And when he was looking for one, he wasn't, according to him, wasn't really looking for the Jenny. It was just the last one he could get a hold of. And so he bought it and had a bunch of fun stories with it, and that's what I'm here for. I want to learn these stories and keep this bike from getting lost to time. Keep it on the road. It's been out here in Arizona for a lot of its life, and so it has a lot of West Coast parts on it from X-Men, and a lot of people out here have worked on it, so I'm really interested to see that as well, because I've only really ever worked with Jamie, and so I don't I haven't got to hear all of the other stories of all the other people looking for solutions and working on things. And so here we go, and this bike will be a perfect example of that. It'll be a perfect way to check out these West Coast situations. So yeah.
There's my baby going away.
When?
So like I promised, we got adventure. We are here in Prescott, right? And I went and picked it up, just like I told you in the car. I noticed a few things with it right away. It's been sitting for a while. Ed hasn't been in the best riding shape, and so it has been sitting. And so we are going to have a few things we have to iron out, I can tell right away. But I learned a lot about this bike. So we'll cover that when we get a little lighter out. But because we spent too much time having fun at Ed's, obviously. But yeah, so we got her on the trailer. It's hauling great so far. Peanut's always the champ, but let's go get some sleep because we're gonna head out early in the morning and get home. We got 330 miles to go, and Peanut's ready. Guys, we're on our way. Look at that. So we got one in the back there. We're rolling through the desert. Me and Peanut doing 60 miles an hour. You know, Peanut hauls pretty damn good. And I've been getting about 28 miles a gallon. So it's not too bad. I mean, I know, like, at some point, I know I need a truck, right? And I've had trucks before. It's just, you know, it's never on my list of, like, things to buy right now because I got so much shit. But, and Peanut just, you know, keeps doing it. So, yeah, so we're out in the middle of the desert, heading towards home, and yeah, a lot of cacti, if you will, a lot of campers out in the desert. It's pretty cool out here. I always liked the desert. There's something about the desert that really just kind of, you can kind of feel an energy out here. You know, you hear about all the celebrities and the rock stars that used to go, you know, do acid in the desert. And you can feel why they would. Like, just all the energy, you know, I don't know. And you can just feel how it's, nothing can live out here. Just the despair for some, you know, just the, I don't know. It's cool. But I'm gonna drink some more water, and I'll catch up with you guys in a second because I want to talk about the bike. There's this jerk in front of me going slow. Alright, peace out. just learned right this second. I'm out here in, I guess it's Palo Verde, 173 people, California, right? And I'm driving by, it's out here, it's like a giant checkerboard of farmland. And I just passed a bunch of cotton fields. I didn't know there was cotton growing out here. I've seen a lot of other vegetables, but not cotton. But there it is. So in theory, you can grow cotton out here. I mean, I didn't watch it grow. It looks like it grew there, right? But I didn't watch it, so yeah, this is some desolate shit. I think too, one of the things that kind of surprised me moving out here is how everyone in California kind of lives in 3 spots, basically. And outside those 3 spots is some really rural shit, you know? And looks very familiar to me. Growing up in rural Colorado, Wyoming, this is all it feels very familiar to me. So I don't hate it. Makes for kind of a boring drive sometimes, but it's not bad. And I actually feel a bit sad about this. I don't know if I feel bad. It's not bad, it's sad. You could tell Ed really loved this motorcycle. And he rode it a lot, and he had a lot of fun with it. And he worked really hard in the beginning of the group, you know. Even if he wasn't out there developing new things, you know, he was doing a lot of brand recognition work, just keeping this bike on the road and making sure everybody could see it. You know, it's really cool what he did. And it came from an actual place of love. And pulling away, I felt bad pulling away. I didn't want to, it's almost like I didn't want him to watch, you know? It's crazy. And you know what made me sad about it too? Is thinking about it, you know, like someday when it has, you know, that it has to happen to all of us kind of thing, where we have to watch something we put so much time into, we have to watch it fade away, you know, and you know, it's really crazy. It's a crazy thought. And I'm really grateful for Ed and Joanne. They very nice people, live in a beautiful spot in Arizona, and I'm grateful for them for taking such great care of this bike and helping Excelsior out as they have, and hopefully one day, you know, someone will say that about me about something. It doesn't have to be about Excelsior, I guess, but hopefully someday they'll be like, you know, that crazy bastard, he was annoying as hell, wouldn't shut up, but I'll never forget that bike. So we'll see. Right now I'm just listening to podcasts, looking at these mountains coming up that I'm going to have to drive over here in a minute. Thinking about Peanut, how good he's doing. I got 29 miles a gallon on this last one. I think the worst tank's been 27 miles a gallon. All in this, you know, all in this motorcycle. And it doesn't struggle at all, you know. I'm doing 60 down the interstate. Right now I'm only doing, you know, 55. But didn't care. And so far we've only had 2 mishaps. One is somewhere in Prescott, Arizona. I had the window down because I like to, you know, hear if anything happens. Maybe I can hear it, I don't know, you know. but I heard this tinging, and I was like, oh, what the hell's tinging? And I didn't quite see anything, and I was like, well, I don't know. Everything looks fine from here. I don't know what tinged. And then Whitney calls, and she's like, did you just run over a galvanized bar? And I was like, no. But apparently, the galvanized bar flew up and hit her in the windshield. So that'll be fun. We're gonna need a new windshield now. That's cool. And then let's see what else. Oh, the other thing was, I thought I was being real clever, and I was like, made those tube side pieces to put the what do you call it? The ramp on. When it's not stored, so it'd sit right there. And I put a big bolt through the 2x4 and a wing nut, and I even got like the wing nut with the plastic in there, and both of them fell off. I don't know. The washers, the wing nuts had the plastic, and they both rattled loose. I don't know. So fuck it, I guess that was a bad idea. Gonna have to have some sort of like locking pin or some shit. Oh well. Other than that, we've been doing pretty good. I did all my pre-stuff on the trailer, so that worked out. But yeah, I don't know. Been having fun so far. Prescott's cool. Prescott. And yeah. I'll get back with you in a minute. I'm gonna enjoy some scenery. Well, we made it. 300 some miles or whatever it was. I think it was 412. We ended up taking the long way out of Prescott, going down to Phoenix because I didn't want to do the Congress Hill with Peanut. I went up it, just, with the empty trailer, but it's hard on brakes, and why make it harder? But the trip was uneventful. We only had one issue, and that was with the trailer. Is my damn fender almost fell off. Just kind of, it was like halfway broken, so I just kind of broke it off the rest of the way. When this trailer's empty, it bounces like crazy. I'm sure that's what happened. This thing's fairly old, but yeah, that was it. Everything rode perfectly. Peanut performed flawlessly. We got about 29 miles a gallon on the way home. Yeah, so let's get this thing unloaded, and then we can do some close-up looking at it. And again, thanks Ed and Joanne for being such awesome people. Ed took really good care of this, and he tried his best to make sure this thing ran the whole time and make sure everything was good. So we're getting a hell of a bike here, and yeah, let's get this thing unloaded and see how we can get her back on the road. We go on long trips and not only tie them, or zip tie them, but nothing comes flying around, One thing I want to mention is I was helping Frank unload a motorcycle, and he had the 3 rails like this, and I really liked it. But as we were unloading it, they started to separate, and it got kind of sketchy there for a second. So we both learned a lesson that day. You run a strap around there, and that way it's safe. Okay, let's get this off, huh? So this is what I was talking about when I was saying well loved. Ed loved this bike, and he didn't just love the bike, he loved the whole Excelsior Henderson thing. And I didn't expect as much stuff as there was. I knew he had some memorabilia that he was willing to part with, but I didn't think there was this much. And we won't go through it all today, but he explained to me that when he put this bike away every year, he would pull it up on the rack, detail it, put a cover on it, and he would take the saddlebags off, and he would I can't remember what he put on there, but he put something on there, seal those in bags. He would take the windshield, clean it, cover it in cloth, save it for next year. So, and he saved everything with the bike. Anytime, I have a box over here full of parts that he kept, new parts, old parts, any little piece of, poster that he could get. He kept, he's got the new exhaust, and he was there in the beginning. He actually wanted a blue and oyster, but as he says it, who he was going to buy it from wouldn't give him a deal, so he bought this one, not knowing that this was going to be rare, or it was going to be kind of different in a different way. And he wanted to really ride it. He's a decent mechanic, self-admittedly, and I've seen his work. He does a good job, but he wanted to really, really ride this thing, and he knew there was going to be some problems in the beginning. Um, Everything always does when it's brand new. And like he said, though, it wasn't about the problems that were going to arise. He really enjoyed the people rising up to fix these problems. And one thing that I've really noticed about the Excelsior Henderson group is they are a little eclectic, all of them. You had to be a little bit to really want to dive into this, He wrote it, and he knew that his biggest contribution was going to be, brand recognition. And so he made sure to put it in as many shows as he could. He drove it all over the US. He's got pictures of him at the lowest point in Florida there. And it's got 30,000 miles. So not too bad. I know there's some higher mileage out there, but he really tried. And that's what all of this is. And we'll go through this later. But it was really sad. And I feel honored to keep this bike moving forward. But I am genuinely sad that Ed doesn't have it anymore. And I think he is too. So I guess we'll do our best, right? That's all we can do. We'll just do our best to keep this thing alive and keep everything going, because that's our job now, right? In this whole world where everything's getting, a little bit more disposable, we have to be a little bit more diligent to keep things from being disposed of. So we'll do a walk around, and we'll get into the nitty gritty with this bike a little later, because we're going to do a shakedown on it. We got to get it up, get everything checked over before we put it on the road, because it has sit for a few years. It did have some work from Jamie, so there is some recent work, so it shouldn't be too bad actually. But let's figure it out, because that's what's fun about all this, is diving into it and figuring it out. So, well, wish me luck, guys, because this is going to be a fun one, and I genuinely can't wait to dig through all this stuff. And again, I can't say it enough. Thanks, Ed and Joanne, for just being as good as you were with all of this stuff. This won't go unnoticed, and yeah, we'll keep it alive. I'm going to keep this bad boy on the road. So here's the saga of the Drunkin Jenny. Let's keep this saga rolling.